Hello, everyone, and welcome back to He Lives podcast. The genius of working with animals is they are everywhere and they are constantly giving us messages. Even when we are scrolling on social media, listening to songs, watching movies, all the clues are there. We just have to listen and decode them, and this podcast will help you do that. Today's podcast is deep with some higher consciousness expansion available, very deep and divine. There is so much wisdom to provide on this one today, so please subscribe to my Spotify to unlock the later wisdom where I discuss the channeling and decode how it can help you heal within. I welcome my ancestors as I welcome the story and love of the sacred spider crab. He lives straight from the heart. Welcome, I am the spider crab, and tell a deep and tall tale of love. You may believe you have heard all the stories of love before, but none fall this deep. If I were to tell you that some of the best stories come from the bottom of the ocean, what would be your first thought? My first thought would be, why do they come from the bottom of the ocean? Well, let me tell you my story, and then you will understand why the best stories come from the depths of the seabed. I am the lost and found, I am the found and lost, because everything falls to me from the great sky to the bottom of the ocean, from heaven unto earth, for I am the one they call the great keeper of trinkets. Rigid as I may seem, I am quite flexible, and I can travel very far in the ocean, because the water, she guides me and supports me, for she is kind. My time down here is often spent foraging for trinkets, the trinkets and stories of lost men at sea, the men we lose to emotions, the ever-moving motion of the ocean. She pushes and pulls at the seams of the heart, hoping that man will open the doors that he slammed shut. My job is to tell the stories of the fallen men of endless generations, a job that not many would dare claim. But stories are my joy, and nothing upsets me more than a story untold. How many stories must we have lost, losing so many men to the ocean? Each trinket I find has a story, and today I will tell you one of my favorite stories. The story of the Pirate King. Once upon a time there was a child unborn to the tides, but born instead to the land, and this made him very upset. For you see, he was no man, but a pirate right from the start. Back then, pirates were not to be feared for their gruesome violence and thievery, but for their camaraderie and love for the ocean. Because before pirates were known for being pirates, they were brave voyagers that lived with the spirits of the oceans. Where do you think the great stories of all the sea monsters came from? That's right, pirates. Because pirates were shamans of the ocean before they were demonized and criminalized for their great wealth. But that wealth they gained from following and living with the spirits of the ocean tides and winds. It tears my heart asunder to hear all the false stories that you humans tell of the great pirates that sailed the seas, for they were brave gentlefolk, adventurers like none you have seen, and they were ready to explore the unknown with a tattle for joy that would make you give praise as you would do a trapeze artist, performing the most daring circus stunt. Because pirates were magical men with great cunning and strength, enough strength to sail a giant ship through the most treacherous waves and remain standing on deck right to the end. Not something you see in your silly movies, is it? The truth is not told because the truth is not often felt. For to feel the truth of the Pirate King, one must go deep, deep into their heart. The telling tales of someone so grand, someone so full of promise, lost to the ocean, is a sad state of affairs indeed. If I could cry, I would, but the ocean, she takes me tears and shares them with the world, and so I share my tears through my stories. So hold on tight as we travel the deep oceans together. Hold still, stand firm, and keep open, because this is no ordinary story. This is... And there he is, look at him, standing on the deck, staring out to sea. A large, built and rugged man, but clean dressed all in black, with a white shirt and a red sash wrapped around his waist, with a bright red macaw on his right shoulder, his warrior mate.
Like and subscribe!
Arr! It's morning tide, the sun is fresh in the air, and the seagulls are singing a song of freedom, but along the horizon a big storm was brewing. The wind began to change and the sky darkened. He turned to his warrior mate and spoke. That's not what I was expecting today. Something rotten is afoot, my lad. Let's be off now and see how the crew be getting on. Look ahead now, the ship is packed and the last of the crew have boarded. A lovely crew to be sure, a crew that would rather tear their arms off than betray each other. True brothers they were, and a true captain they had. We see the captain give word to set sail, and off they set for a voyage into the unknown. The vessel they sailed was none other than the great sailboat Macabre, the voice of the deep. She was named after his beautiful wife Alistair McLean, a woman who knew no bounds to her love, and no bounds to her love for him. He treasured every moment with her until but his heart aches for adventure and gold. So he may come back to her richer and wiser, and a pocketful of gold to shower her with the gift of his love. The storm she had passed, and it is night time on the oceans, and the pirate King Roberts is sat in his cabin, holding a feather and ink, while his pirate warrior mate sits perched at the edge of the table as he writes to his beloved. Dear Eliza, it has been exactly 13 hours since we left dock, and I am already questioning my decision to leave you. I care for you so deeply, yet I am on a mission. Something calls to me in the ocean, something deep and divine. I must search far and wide to understand why this feeling haunts me so. I know you understand, and for this I love you even more, but forgive me, for I also know that your heart worries for my safety, but worry not, for my heart knows the way. I shall try to write a letter in my study to you each day, to let you know you are always within my heart. Many letters were written by the pirate king to Eliza under candlelight. It brought him much joy, and because his romantic heart could not bear to leave a word of love unexpressed in the light of his heart. One night under the stars, Pirate Roberts walked to the quarterdeck with a glass of wine and a gaze out over the waters. On the surface of the waves it was as if the waters were dancing and singing, a show of white horses. Eliza loved her horse deeply, and it brought him closer to her in his heart. He took a deep smell of the ocean air and toasted in her honour, and headed back down to his cabin. However, it wasn't long until he heard a knock at his door. Quartermaster Pike, what is it that you disturb me so late this eve? Master, sir, we've been hollering your name. There's something under the water, and it's big, sir. What do you mean, monster? I don't know how to describe it yet, sir, but it's bigger than a whale, that's for sure. You'll have to come see it for yourself, sir. It's following us. Show me immediately. I have to see this for myself. They quickly made movement to the main deck, and in the twilight, Pirate Roberts looks out onto the main deck and is surprised to see the sail in full flight, taking the ship into a faster gear, making it difficult to balance due to the speed increasing in the ship. Then under the moonlight and the glowing sea foam, he sees his master rigger, Botswain his name, coming down from the crow's nest, hugging the mast like he has just seen a pure horror. Come down, what have you done, Botswain? Said Roberts. It's coming, he screams. And before Roberts could speak, he looks to his left and sees a giant, bright, white tentacle crawl over the side and onto the landing deck. Pike in horror runs down to the sleeping waters and rings the bell to wake up the crew. Sea monster! Sea monster! But in haste, he had left the lock in the door, and it closed behind him, locking them all down below, until one of them could find a key. On deck, Roberts is paralysed, swaying gently with the ship, holding on for dear life, but not in fear. Something completely different. This was no ordinary monster. It crept up further, locking 3 more tentacles onto the deck, with Ron around the mast. It was enormous, and locked his gaze with Roberts and spoke in his mind.
"You're not from around here, are you?"
There are no words to how Roberts felt as the vibrations rattled through his body, mind, and soul. Because when he looked into his eyes, he could not know fear, for it was something much greater. It was love. It was his story. It was the story and adventure he'd been looking for all this time. It was his soul's calling. He slowly came to standing, moving with the ship's momentum, balancing his footing with ease. And just as easy as he walked onto the ship, he slowly walked towards the monster. It was such a beautiful sight. The moon was full, the sky was clear and full of stars, and the sound was waves crashing, with gentle winds flapping the sail. As he got closer, the monster, he could see how the moonlight glistened like sand crystals over its skin. It was breathtaking. In his heart, he felt a kindred spirit and reached out with his graceful eyes with a hand on his heart and spoke from within. "Can you hear me?" he speaks.
"Of course."
"I am Roberts, shaman of the oceans, and I honor you with my heart. Your soul essence speaks to me as if I were supposed to be here, right here and now." These were the transmissions of vibrations through feelings which could fill a book, and in an instant, the monster replied.
"I'm here for you. I'm here to share a great message. I come from the depths to deliver this message, and I have gratefully been led to you by the ocean. I am guide and master of the depths, and I deliver unto you the greatest gift a man could ever ask for. I am pleasured to give you the gift of reverence to life, a gift so rare that none could master, for it was only gifted to those who knew and could master the oceans of their emotions. You are a master of the seas, you are the ocean master of love. None have dared stand the tides of change greater than you, for you are the great navigator, for you are the great sailor of love's consciousness, the great waters of love. And I am here to help you remember who you are."
Wake up, sir, wake up! It's Pike. He's managed to climb through a window. He's pulling on Roberts' arm, and it looks as if he's been hypnotized into being dinner for the monster. And it's wrapped him in its tentacle. But before the other men could come to help Pike, the monster dives into the moonlight, pulling Pirate King Roberts down deep into the depths. The monster loosens his grip. Roberts floats to the bottom of the scene bed, unconscious, as the moon shines down on him like a spotlight, being shone down from the goddess herself. The monster takes to the shadows and watches as the moonlight gives him the gift of gifts, the gift of life. A calm surrender flows through his body like the ocean itself moves through him and opens his heart. He opens his eyes, moonlight shone waters, and realizes he is deep underwater and pushes his feet from the bottom of the seabed, floating him upwards. He breaks the ocean ceiling and gasps for air. Confused, he comes up to find the sun is rising. A new dawn on the horizon, and his ship awaiting him with a crew of beguiling brothers. "Ahoy!" he shouts, and his crewmen, so happy to see him, dive into the water to get him and pull him up onto the gantry. "He's alive," they shout, "he's alive! We got our captain back!" "What happened, Captain? What happened? Captain, what happened? Tell us what happened!" they said. and he looked in their eyes and he said, "That's a story for another day, men. Let's get sailing." Now, ladies and gentlemen, wasn't that a story? I bet you're wondering what that was all about. Well, tune in to the decoding discussion by Alistair afterwards and find out. Now off I go as I set sail on my own story. But before I do, let me tell you a joke. Why are pirates called pirates? 'Cause they just are. Thank you for listening. If you wish to stick around and learn more what this channeling means, please subscribe to my podcast on Spotify and unlock the wisdom. I will be giving this one free when it first comes out. I need to whisper so she doesn't hear me. But I'm beating Hazel on the game of love on the Walk the Squawk podcast, okay? Because this next bit is just so much love. Okay, so discussion time. Wow. So first I want to say, wow, pirates are water shamans. That's incredible. Makes perfect sense. Have you seen the film Moana? OMG. Okay. So each time I channel a new animal, I'm giving reverence to a part of myself. And each time I receive gifts like these gifts of love from my own soul. And what a beautiful story and channeling. Very deep indeed. The spider crab, one of its gifts, is a storyteller, believe it or not. So this was a first for me. This is helping me come alive, tell my stories on this podcast. And the spider crab first came to me when I was doing some animal channelings with my partner. And I felt this enormous grief bubble up inside me. And I didn't understand until it showed me through feeling this deep, deep vision of fallen men, men who had drowned in their own grief, their own emotions. I watched the visions as all these lifeless bodies of men floated to the ocean floor, and then I saw my crab crawl up to one of the men, and he found a photo of this man's family. And the pain that crab carried was enormous. Bearing in mind, animals are our ancestors. I felt that feeling through my ancestors. So I felt the crab carrying this pain because he really wants to tell the stories of men. It's such an enormous grief from seeing all these wasted lives. So I saw all these spider crabs walking around the bottom of the oceans, honouring the stories of these fallen men by ingesting them and feeling their pain, their stories and their hearts as memories of their own. And their tears, wow, their tears are given to the ocean. And the ocean sends us those stories in the rain of consciousness that falls upon us. The wisdom behind storytelling is the coding and expansion of consciousness hidden within them. This, everyone, is called shamanism. Shamans told stories because they are a form of creative art, and art is a multi-dimensional expansive tool which allows us to communicate this wisdom through our senses that are turned into love. So storytelling makes our senses expand, allowing for more love. But you didn't know that. So stories never die. That's the great thing about them. That's why shamans tell them, because they rain down upon us. How many times do you think stories are passed down? For each story, a life in its own. How many, indeed? Stories are the magical heritage of divine wisdom, hidden in a vision, a creative story to capture the imagination in such depth that healing takes place. The problem with our storytellers today is they have forgotten the meaning of their own stories. Most do not even know why they write a story or a message, just that they did it. We write our stories to commune with our souls, to be in service to one another through the glory of love, and each part, each character in the story comes together to create a message. So let's decipher the story that the story crab, the spider crab, okay, it's a story crab, right, okay, excellent. The story was told through vibration mostly, but There were words to help us guide us through the logical mind. Because we are psychic to many a degree, we have just chosen to shut it off because of the pain of ignoring it for so long. So being psychic actually comes through feeling, not through mental cognition. The first thing that is apparent in the story is his clothing. He's wearing the sacred colours of the goddess: black, white, and red, life, death, and rebirth. This is a detail not known to, well, anyone I know other than myself or my partner until right now. And you can even see that colour scheme in certain animals. So this first shows that this story is in tribute to the goddess of creation, Gaia. Secondly, he has a macaw on his shoulder, a warrior of love, loyal, a great talker, and a great walker as his companion. You can see this on my other podcast with my partner, Walk the Squawk. So this tells me he is not alone. He has a part of himself to watch over him, because everyone or anything is all part of the same story, the same message. Therefore, they are all the same person. The name of the ship is Macabre, which means fear of death. The story he writes to his partner, named Elisa. The name Elisa means promise to God, because okay, so this is going to blow your mind, but Hazel knows this. Is that I made a deal with God to go deeper than the feminine. And so it was my promise to God to overcome my fear of death so I could go deeper than the feminine, because it was my wish to feel love as deeply as my partner, because she is my divine counterpart. She is my sea monster. She is the moonlight. She is the ocean. And each time she holds me with care and such deep love that only she could. And each time I travel on my journey, just like Pirate Roberts, she's always there, because she is the biggest part in my story, the biggest part in all my stories. Choosing to write a beautiful story instead of a tragedy is what changes our lives, because when we write from our souls, we write our own story into existence, because that is how powerful stories are when they are written in love.